The Injury-Free Coalition for Kids, Safe Kids Worldwide, JPMA Cares, Trauma Center Association of America, Safe States, I'm Safe, the Society for the Advancement of Violence and Injury Research, Be Smart, and the American Trauma Society, all National Injury Prevention Day partners, welcome you to Unifying Voices, an opening program for this, the third annual National Injury Prevention Day.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Dr. Wendy Pomerantz, and I am a pediatric emergency medicine physician, past president of the Injury-Free Coalition for Kids, and one of the founding partners of National Injury Prevention Day. Because injuries are the #1 killer of people in the United States from 1 to 44 years of age, this day began to raise awareness of this devastating problem. It started 3 years ago in response to a member from our injury-free site in Canada, where they have had a National Injury Prevention Day for 12 years. Injury-Free is a national coalition of injury prevention specialists, including physicians and other healthcare professionals, community advocates, researchers, and many others that come together to prevent injuries to kids. It is and always has been our desire to bring in together everyone to speak in one voice. We believe that working together, we benefit the field of injury prevention and violence prevention, and that in turn benefits each of our individual efforts. From its humble beginnings, National Injury Prevention Day has blossomed and now includes more partners and more insights into this national problem. Today, you will hear from our partners, along with Dr. Christopher Jones, the Acting Director for National Center for Injury Prevention and Control. We are going to have everyone speak, and then afterward, we will take questions. We ask you to enter them in the chat, and then we will respond. So welcome to this third annual National Injury Prevention Day. Join us in this observation by shining a green light and learn about what's happening in your community as we work to raise awareness about the need to prevent injuries and deaths in people of all ages. Now I would like to introduce Tureen Creppy from Safe Kids Worldwide.
Good morning, and thank you everyone for being here today. We are excited for our third annual Injury Prevention Day. And I just want to encourage you to remember today, if you haven't lit up anything green, please light up your community green as well. We're here today with all of our partners, and I speak on behalf of our 400 plus coalitions around the US. We were excited to join Injury Free in its second year, and I have seen a tremendous growth in the past year of so many partners joining forces with us. I want to encourage you to continue to invite partners in your community. I want to encourage you to continue to invite public health officials that are not part of our mission. I am hopeful that next year we will have more and we will continue to light up green. Thank you and enjoy your day of keeping all kids safe.
Thanks, Tureen. It's such an important day, and we really appreciate the opportunity to work with Safe Kids and the other partners on this. Good morning, everyone. National Injury Prevention Day efforts are a definite priority for the JPMA Cares Foundation. In 2021, thanks to generous contributions from JPMA member companies, 5,700 safety products, including car seats, play yards, home safety kits, and more, were distributed across the country on this special day. The generous donations continue, and we're still tabulating them for 2022. We're also sponsoring 2 car seat checkup events today, educating on the importance of using car seats and using them according to manufacturer's instructions. In a few short years, collaboration among the leaders you see on your screen has created a growing collection of programs, products, events, and educational opportunities. Thank you to each and every one of the national and local partners that continue to contribute to this ongoing success of empowering families. Now I have the pleasure of introducing a brief video that highlights NIPD efforts in 2021 and foreshadows the successes we anticipate for today. Let's take a look at the video.
It was November 18th, 2021, National Injury Prevention Day. The country was transitioning through a pandemic that shut down businesses, closed schools, and forced people to work from home. Data shows the injury and violence rate rose.
So we began seeing things like more dog bites because everybody was getting a dog. People were buying things for recreation a lot more. So we were seeing more bicycle-related injuries, more scooter injuries, trampoline injuries, and things like that. We actually saw less playground injuries because the playgrounds were often closed.
Opioid abuse went up, along with firearm injuries and domestic violence. Neither them nor COVID were deterrents for prevention advocates. They came together on National Injury Prevention Day and spread out across the country. They worked to touch lives in 47 cities of 35 states.
We're prepared to meet them where they are, not only by increasing the awareness that these injuries and deaths are preventable, but by providing those resources and education.
Her intervention area is El Paso, Texas, across from Juarez. Her focus was child passenger safety. COVID forced her to use social distancing, masks, virtual classes, and contactless car seat distribution. Through it all, they still reached people in need. One was Claudia Marquez. She was a single mom, jobless because of COVID, and in need of car seats for her twins.
She thought we were just gonna give her a car seat, but when we gave her the education and the car seat and then showed her how to use it, it was really wonderful for her. She was so grateful.
Gratefulness was also a theme echoed when it came to home safety.
They are so happy to get the information, and then when you hand them the resources that they can go home and start right then with them, that makes all the difference.
It was the same thing when it came to safe sleep, and in many cases, this is the only access many families had to safe sleep tools.
They can't afford a pack and play or a medication lockbox because they are using their money to feed their families and keep the electricity on.
Many of the tools were donated by JPMA Cares, a charitable organization of the Juvenile Products Manufacturers Association.
We're ensuring that these children can grow up and that they can explore and that they can, reach their full potential in a safe environment. And that is really the most important thing that I think any of us can do.
Master Lock and the Lock People provided supplies for gun lock giveaways in 19 cities. There was a march against gun violence, Stop the Bleed classes, and the distribution of opioid abuse information. Despite their own bouts of being overrun by COVID, 52 hospitals showed their support. 22 governors, mayors, and other politicians proclaimed the day National Injury Prevention Day. At 1 p.m. Eastern, there was a 1-hour Twitter chat with nearly 26 million impressions. And then when the sun went down, amid the darkness of the cityscapes across the country, there were bridges, landmarks, hospitals, and other buildings lit with green lights, shining to remind everyone about the work of the day, to raise awareness about the need for injury and violence prevention. We hope you will learn about what's happening in your community and join this effort.
Well, that was really great to see so many of the efforts that happened for National Injury Prevention Day last year, and it makes me excited for what we're going to see this year. My name's Teresa Cruz, and I'm an associate professor at the University of New Mexico Prevention Research Center, and I'm here today on behalf of the Society for Advancement of Violence and Injury Research. We're really proud to be partners in National Injury Prevention Day and to highlight the role of research in understanding and preventing injuries. Injury and violence prevention researchers work every day to identify risk factors, protective factors, and interventions that work to save lives in our communities. This includes research about individual behaviors, social norms, organizational practices, community and environmental interventions, and laws and policies that can protect us. We're really excited to be part of this national effort and look forward to seeing all the work that you do to prevent injuries in your communities. Next, I'd like to turn it over to Rich Hamburg of Safe States to talk to you about their work.
Thanks, Teresa. Hi, my name is Rich Hamburg, and I'm the Executive Director of Safe States Alliance, the national membership organization dedicated to advancing the field of injury and violence prevention. On behalf of National Injury Prevention Day, Safe States, in concert with Injury-Free Coalition for Kids and the National Injury Prevention Day Steering Committee, we circulated a sign-on letter for organizations to express support for raising awareness for National Injury Prevention Day. Nearly 50 organizations signed that document, and see if I can share it. There's the doc. Number of organizations signed this. You'll see just a beginning of the list below. We were also able to share a National Injury Prevention news release with national media. I understand it's been published as of this morning in over 600 outlets with a potential reach of 144 million individuals. We've also shared the release and the sign-on letter that you see here with all 535 congressional offices. In addition, Safe States has unveiled a news media series called This is IVP, a series of visuals portraying different aspects of what injury and violence prevention means. And today, we'll be releasing a special podcast episode on careers in injury and violence prevention. So we and all of our partners are just so excited to be doing a lot of things together on this day and throughout the year. I'd next like to turn the microphone over to Dr. Barbara Barlow. Dr. Barlow.
There I am. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Barbara Barlow. I'm the Executive Director and founder of Injury-Free Coalition for Kids. This is my life's passion, and I'm so excited to see us all come together to fight for safe communities, safe children, safe adults. I am so impressed that I want to cry. But it's my pleasure today to welcome Dr. Christopher Jones, who is the interim director of the CDC's Injury Center, who has dedicated himself to public health his whole life. And the center is very concerned with drug overdoses, suicide, and adverse childhood events. Now, I think we all agree that major injury is an adverse lifetime event for everyone, children and adults. And I think we can make a difference to make our communities safe for children and their families, both at home, at play, on the road, in schools, and everywhere. So I applaud you all for all you're doing. And Dr. Jones, please come and talk to us. We are so happy to have you with us.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Barlow. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. And it's such a pleasure to be with everybody today, celebrating the 3rd annual National Injury Prevention Day. And it's so great to hear of all the organizations coming together with a shared common goal of protecting Americans from injury and violence. And while it is always a pleasure, next slide, while it is always a pleasure to speak with this group, and having participated last year and certainly seeing the recap of activities that happened on this day, I'm particularly proud to be here representing the Injury Center as we're celebrating this year our 30th anniversary as a national center at CDC, as well as the 35th anniversary of the Injury Control Research Center program, which I know many of you are a part of. Next slide. And together over the years, we've worked to address many of society's most urgent public health challenges, focusing on underlying inequities and reducing health disparities, with the ultimate goal of giving every American in every community the same opportunity for lifelong health and well-being. Next slide. And as we navigate new and emerging threats, we remain dedicated to addressing some of the most pervasive issues affecting our society today, including priorities such as preventing suicide, drug overdose deaths, preventing adverse childhood experiences, and reducing and preventing community violence. Next slide. And we've grown as a center over the past 30 years, in particular over the last 5 or 6 years, and our footprint in providing funding, technical assistance, support, and surveillance to communities has also grown as we've grown. We're currently funding states and jurisdictions, 66 in total, to advance overdose surveillance and prevention strategies to decrease the escalating overdose crisis, which is having such a devastating impact on communities across our country. We're also working with 22 states and counting to address the lasting impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as adverse childhood experiences, among other injury and violence prevention issues. And we're actively supporting 52 states and territories to collect and link data on violent deaths to better understand their causes and how we can work together to prevent them. And we're making progress in suicide prevention. Just a couple of years ago, we launched our comprehensive suicide prevention program, which is now providing $15 million in funding to 15 states, 2 tribes, and 2 universities to advance comprehensive suicide prevention in communities focused on disproportionately affected populations. We also support injury control research centers, one of which is our host, Injury Free Coalition for Kids, working within the Center for Injury Epidemiology and Prevention at Columbia's Mailman School of Public Health. The Columbia ICRC is doing core research projects in transportation, suicide, ACEs, and opioid overdose. And we worked with the Injury Free Coalition for Kids on our traumatic brain injury heads up program. Just a few examples of the amazing work happening in the field. And our ICRCs are so important because they're really on the front lines, studying ways to prevent injuries and violence, taking what they learn and putting it into action, as well as training the next generation of researchers and public health professionals who are dedicating their careers to injury and violence prevention. But we certainly see the headlines in the news every day, which remind us that our work is far from done. Whether it's rising firearm homicide and suicide, escalating overdose deaths among teens, increases in motor vehicle traffic safety, traffic crash deaths, mental health crises among youth and adolescents, increases in domestic violence, other forms of violence, concerns around child abuse and neglect, adverse childhood experiences, all things that have been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic, really underscores the importance of our work and the importance of us working together to advance comprehensive injury and violence prevention. Next slide. And as we're thinking about how do we continue to move forward working together, it's so important that we remain focused in our pursuits of evolving funding and surveillance and prevention activities, expanding public health partnerships, advancing information technology and data science to leverage the best available technology, emerging data to help us understand what's going on, how is risk changing, and how do we need to modify our prevention strategies to address that risk, and being ready to respond swiftly to emergencies, and being able to coordinate together on national threats with a particular focus on those at greatest risk. But what's clear to us in the Injury Center is that we can't do it alone. And I think this webinar today and the many groups that are working together really underscore that point. The Injury Free Coalition for Kids, our other funded ICRCs at universities and hospitals across the country, as well as our national and community-based partners, are all critical in amplifying the importance and the evidence base for violence and injury prevention, enabling us to continue to expand and get more people at the table to address the issues that we know are affecting communities across our country. So thank you so much for all that you're doing to advance this critical work. And we really value and appreciate the partnership and sort of summing it up in how we continue our work together for protection, prevention, and progress, and what we can do over the next 30 years, building on the successes we've had together over the prior 30. So thank you very much for having me here today. And I'll pass it over to Dex Tuttle with Trauma Center Association of America.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jones. It's a privilege and an honor to have you here today. I'm Dex Tuttle, Injury Prevention Program Manager at Children's Minnesota and Level 1 Pediatric Trauma Center in Minneapolis. And I'm here today representing the Trauma Center Association of America. TCAA is a nonprofit trade association representing 430 trauma centers and systems across the country. TCAA's Injury Prevention Committee sponsored media contests to spread the word about preventing injury in our communities. Elementary through college students were asked to submit a poster, video, an essay, story, song, meme, or whatever art spoke to them the most, showing what they thought safety looked like in their community, in their school, in their home, or whatever was the most salient to them. Submissions from students under 18 were submitted by their school or their teachers or a sponsoring faculty member, while students over 18 could be submitted individually or with a classroom. We gave them a couple of open-ended prompts to follow, such as asking about safe choices that they make individually, what a safe city might look like, what a safe location might look like, their school, so on. The contest was promoted over social media and through flyers distributed into communities by committee members. Submissions were grouped into categories for judging based on age group and media type, and then scored based on the effectiveness of the message, the execution of the idea, and their concept and creativity. We had so many really good submissions, and surprisingly beautiful, or perhaps not surprisingly beautiful, because our community members are the best at telling us what works in their areas. I'd like to show you a quick montage of all the video of all of our winners now. Such great entries. We're excited to see them all. You can see the full winners on the Injury Free Coalition for Kids website, as well as the Trauma Center Association of America's website. And we're looking forward to continuing this contest in the future, potentially. But now I'd like to turn the virtual stage over to Sue Prentice. Sue.
Thank you, Dex. Good morning. My name is Sue Prentice, and I'm the Executive Director of the American Trauma Society. The ATS is honored to once again be a partner with the Injury Free Coalition for Kids and all the partners that you see here today in this third annual celebration. At the American Trauma Society, our mission is to save lives, to improve care, and empower survivors. We have been active in the education of injury prevention coordinators throughout the United States, as well as partner with many of you in our Trauma Prevention Coalition. Today, you've heard from many of our partners and from Dr. Johnson about the challenges that we face here, here in the United States, and as our organizations that are focused on injury and violence prevention efforts. These include, but are not limited to, firearm violence, suicide, overdoses, and motor vehicle crashes. Our work is every day, but here today, an Injury Prevention Day, we start now. There's so much more that's going to happen today, and I want to give you just a brief preview and remind everyone that's out there listening to go to www.injuryfree to look at the continuous schedule of events that are happening and resources that are available to you. So some of the things that are happening today, we heard in our opening that 120 plus locations are going to shine a green light as the sun goes down today. They'll be shining the green light focused on safety and raising awareness in healthcare, public safety, and throughout our trauma systems on that we can prevent injuries through these efforts that we all work on together every day. Join us at 1 o'clock today Eastern Time for a live Twitter chat. I was engaged in the live Twitter chat last year, and it was a wonderful experience. There were over 26 million impressions shared throughout our nation at hashtag Be Injury Free. So join us today, share your injury prevention message. I'm sure I know we'll be engaged here at the ATS and sharing ours. Again, hashtag Be Injury Free. There are multiple social media campaigns taking place across the United States. There are also community programs and events that many of our trauma centers have sponsored, including car seat safety checks, home safety education events, gun violence and firearm injury prevention events, bicycle safety events, fire and burn safety events, sleeping safe educational programs, and water safety. 25 cities, towns, and jurisdictions have issued proclamations today from their leadership recognizing Injury Prevention Day, one of which is the mayor of Denver, Colorado, with Injury Free Coalition for Kids Colorado. You can read the proclamation at www.injuryfree. There are 13 hospitals that are going to be doing internal educational programs today, 3 of which are conferences focused on different aspects of their injury prevention efforts, including one of my neighbors here at the University of Vermont Medical Center. Arkansas Children's Hospital is holding a leadership conference today on injury prevention. And in Boston, again, here in New England, they will be having a virtual conference today on injury prevention. Again, at www.injuryfree, you can learn more about all of these events. I'd like to thank the team for once again, including the American Trauma Society and working with all of you on injury prevention. And I am going to be passing it off to Kathy Giesland from Be Smart.
Thank you so much, Sue. And thank you so much to Dr. Jones and all of our partners in this space today. I'm Kathy Giesland, and I'm so grateful to represent Everytown for Gun Safety's Be Smart program amongst this coalition of leaders who really understand the gravity and the urgency with which we must work together to protect our children and our communities. We really value the coordination on the issue of violence and injury, which really cannot be overstated. In 2022, gun violence remains the leading cause of death for kids in America, and National Injury Prevention Day grants us a unique opportunity for us to speak with a unified voice to raise awareness of the gun violence epidemic and generate solutions that can save lives. 4.6 million American children live in homes with guns that are both loaded and unlocked. And secure storage directly addresses the risk that firearms pose to our children's lives. Research indicates that secure storage practices, including storing household guns unloaded, locked, and separate from the ammunition, are associated with reduced injuries and deaths related to child firearm suicide, unintentional shootings, and other incidents of gun violence. So Be Smart is empowering communities by educating practical, accessible information and tools around secure firearm storage. So we really greatly appreciate your support on National Injury Prevention Day, shining that green light and continuing your work to keep all of our children and our communities safe. If you want more resources on secure storage information, you can go to besmartforkids.org. And like Sue just mentioned, really follow that hashtag #BeInjuryFree because it's already started. I've seen it all over social media. I'm going to turn it over to Wendy now. I know that there are some questions. This is going to be a great Q&A. So Wendy, take it over.
Okay, well, thanks for coming to our 3rd annual Injury Prevention Day. Please feel free to type things into the chat. There looks like there's a question and answer box if you have any questions. We have one question so far, and it says, I've heard many great safety groups and multiple different groups in regards to safe sleep, safe water, etc. Are there partnered groups regarding gun safety?
There are.
I think we just got that answer.
Yeah, so there's resources like I mentioned at besmartforkids.org. You can also text the word SMART to 64433. You can also visit everytown.org and right along with Be Injury Free, you can follow the hashtag BeSmart because we've got lots of great resources right along with that.
Are there any other questions in the audience? Do any of the panelists have anything else they'd like to add or questions from listening to the others? It's a quiet group today.
Well, I'll just say on the firearm violence side, broader violence prevention portfolio in the Injury Center, we have many resources. We're supporting research and surveillance to improve our understanding of firearm violence, whether it's homicide, suicide, unintentional firearm-related injury and violence. So please feel free also to go to the Injury Center website to look at resources, technical packages, other prevention resources that can help folks who are doing this work in communities and connect with others, lifting up where we know there are effective policies, programs, and practices that can address that issue.
Okay, we have another question from Amanda. I work for a nonprofit health system. Do you have any tips for getting leadership on board with participating in advocacy efforts around policy and funding?
Wendy, I'd be happy to jump in. Not so much a tip, but a resource, Amanda. You may want to look at the Trauma Prevention Coalition. You can find it at the American Trauma Society's website, as well as we've now started our own Twitter feed. But we have an annual symposium that we hold, and it's actually co-located with our partners here at the Trauma Center Association for America. And that's where injury and violence prevention professionals from throughout the United States that are mostly hospital-based, but we do have some state and local partners that join us, work on and share information on just these types of efforts. This year's program is going to be April 30th and May 1st. There's a save the date out, and we focus a lot around advocacy and how you work, with your C-suite and your leaders, your leadership to, bring injury prevention efforts more to the forefront in your organizations and hospitals and, again, local and state government.
Yeah, I just would want to add that advocacy is such a critical component of any organization's strategic plan, and advocacy in its simplest sense of educating policymakers on the importance of the work that we do. It's not political, it's apolitical, it's nonpartisan. It's trying to raise awareness, like we're trying to do with National Injury Prevention Day, but it's not a one-day thing, as you all know. So I think it behooves all of our organizations and our membership to frankly, do a better job or on a more regular basis of just telling people what we do and across the continuum of injury and violence prevention, whether it's the opioid crisis or violence prevention issues or unintentional injury, and just such a critical component. So it's really just communications, but communications to the right people who are able to hopefully provide more resources for all the work that we all do.
And I'll just jump in from Safe Kids. This is Tareen. When you advocate, you educate. And I would just encourage you to reach out to this group and coordinate with us and maybe providing a presentation on some of the effective changes that have happened through advocating. I'll just highlight here, many of you probably don't know, but in 2001, Safe Kids rated all states on the child passenger safety laws. And at that time in 2001, there were no booster seat laws. And today we can proudly see and say that we have laws and we have the use of car seats and booster seats. So when you advocate, you educate. And I think if we could help you be able to provide that in that kind of context, then hopefully your agency will understand the importance of advocacy.
And Torian, I'll just add to that. Thank you. This is great. I love this melding of the minds that's happening right now. But I would add that when you're trying to convince people that the data is your friend, having the best data, and I refer you to the National Injury Prevention Day website, because all of the partners that you see on your screen have their websites linked there. And those websites contain a lot of the data that you need, or at least link to the data that you need. So that I would encourage you to definitely check into that.
Okay, next question. Can we please get more information on firearm violence prevention efforts happening around the nation? I know that Kathy has some information.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to answer. So one great way is to join your local Moms Demand Action chapter. Again, you can just text the word READY to do that to 64433. They would be able to hook you up with your local chapter, which would, if we're talking about advocacy, that's one way they would let you know what's going on the local level. Anything that you're looking to do in your own community, they would be able to hook you up with, in the local community. Again, the everytown.org website would be able to, point you directly to what's going on, federal legislation. Another great place to check on that site is, in terms of what was just being mentioned, we have a full research site. So I think that's a great place to point you to. So that's sort of a one-stop shop in terms of all of the current goings on. Moms Demand Action is the grassroots arm. So if you're looking to get involved sort of in the advocacy side, that's where I would point you. Every town will give you more of the, what's happening. And again, there's a research site there if you're looking to dive in on more, what's happening in the research. Be Smart, the program that I was just talking about, is education regarding secure storage. But you can find everything directed from that site.
I think you answered the next question. How can individuals join advocacy groups to address firearms safety?
Yes, so I would have them join their local Moms Demand Action chapter.
Yeah, they send email, they send texts every few weeks. Can you join us here? Can you join us
Yep.
there?
So you can join up.
In addition to raising awareness, will there be research funding or program funding opportunities through the program?
Is that directed at me?
I don't know. It may be about.
Well, I'll say that we have received firearms specific funding over the last couple of years that's really directed towards research and surveillance. And we've made investments to 10 states to leverage syndromic surveillance programs to have near real-time data on firearm-related emergency department visits, and states who have that funding are coalescing multi-sector partnerships around that data to help drive action. We've also funded a number of extramural research projects to advance prevention policy, practice, research. We have small investments in our youth violence prevention centers that focus on youth violence, which obviously intersects with community violence, firearm-related violence. And are funding 8 local jurisdictions, a program called Prevail, which is focused on preventing youth violence and teen dating violence, which obviously, multiple forms of violence are connected. There is in the president's budget request, a $250 million investment for CDC to advance community violence prevention. And that would be a historic investment in getting programmatic dollars out to communities to do comprehensive community violence prevention work. So we'll see if we get a budget this year, if there's an investment made there, but we'll continue to leverage our firearm-related funding specifically to advance our understanding and surveillance around firearm violence and lifting up what we know through other forms of violence prevention. What are policies and strategies that can be brought to bear And I'll say that we put out a vital signs back in May that focused on firearm homicide and suicide. And with that, there's a suite of documents that really lift up the policies, practices, and programs at an individual sort of relationship, community, and society level that we believe can help advance, reduce firearm homicide and suicide. So I would also reference you back to that, which I think provides a good roadmap for what people might pursue in communities to address the issue.
I wanted to highlight as well that the CDC funds our National Violent Death Reporting System, which also tracks firearm injuries and deaths and looks for those risk factors and protective factors that people can address in communities.
Yeah, and one further item is the external funding as well. So, in addition to the CDC funding, there's funding through for gun violence prevention research through a number of different foundations now, like the Arnold Foundation and the Joyce Foundation, and there are a few others as well. So like anything else, you need a strong private-public partnership, and we're beginning to see more significant investments. And on the CDC side, we'll see what happens now after the elections, and because there's a sizable increase proposed for CDC as well. So here's hoping that that we find out that goes through in the coming weeks.
There is also the Trauma Center Association of America has a gun violence awareness page, and there's information on that for clinicians and families. We can post that in the National Injury Prevention Day website for you guys to click on if you want to be able to see that. A few more questions about firearms. What are actionable efforts for gun violence that implicate schools and teachers? And then another question is, do we have any efforts in relation to working with firearm retailers?
I'll just quickly address the second one, just in a microcosm. We funded a series, Safe States, a series of seed grants this year, and one of them was to University of Texas for a partnership that they have. Dr. Sandy McKay is the individual with a partnership with large gun shops there as far as gun safety education and safe storage and those kinds of issues. So those things are beginning to happen. I was also pleased to find out that also through Dr. McKay, just saw that Texas Governor Abbott just put out a National Injury Prevention Day proclamation. So so that's good news. I'll forward that, add that to the list of successes for the group.
Yeah, I'll say that some of our research in the firearm space in particular is looking at how to engage with gun shop owners and others as partners in prevention. So I think that is a growing area of interest to really understand what role they could play. I think the role of messengers around safe storage practices is particularly important. And so it is, I do think, important to cast a broad net of folks who can deliver those messages in a way that resonates with people who own guns or have guns. I think the safe storage piece, both in homicide and suicide, is an important piece of the prevention package. So I will also say, back to the earlier conversation about funding, as I mentioned in my remarks, we do fund 15 states, 2 tribes, and 2 universities to focus on comprehensive suicide prevention, and lethal means safety is a component of that work. And many states are prioritizing that around safe storage, whether that's safe storage and conversations around counseling on access to lethal means in the emergency department, or more broadly messaging around safe storage practices. And I do think that we have to be thoughtful about how do we engage with others who are regularly engaging with people who own guns in order to get accurate messages out about the role that safe storage can play.
Well, and with regard to the actionable efforts around schools and firearms, I think some of them are to do with safe storage, because many youth end up getting the firearms from their homes, right? That they have access to them there, but also thinking upstream, thinking about how we can have programs that engage youth and work with youth in a positive manner and build on their strengths and their resiliency, so that they have good coping mechanisms to deal with stress, anxiety, and conflict. So we need to be thinking a little bit more upstream as well as to that immediate source and access to a weapon, but also thinking about how do we raise our children in an environment where that isn't the place that you go to solve your problems.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. I would say, as part of our work around preventing adverse childhood experiences, our youth violence prevention work, teen dating violence prevention work, building those core, problem solving skills, conflict resolution, life skills type work, which schools are often a delivery mechanism for those types of programs, is a core part to reducing multiple forms of violence. And we see from our YRBS data that, some youth bring weapons to school because they don't feel safe, or that may be the means in which they have learned to address conflict. So I think it's addressing sort of the resilience and strengths-based approach for problem solving, life skills, but also thinking about the built environment. How are we creating safe spaces? What is happening in the school environment that might be contributing to people not feeling safe, so that they feel that they need to do something in order to protect themselves. And some may choose to bring weapons because of that.
Okay, we also have a comment in the chart. It's in the chat. It says gunstogarden.org is a coalition of cities that will work together to perform gun buybacks that will eventually craft garden tools for community gardens out of the weapons retrieved. The date is Saturday, 12/10/22, and we need more partners and federal funding. I know that that's from Dr. Mike Hirsch. He has been a big proponent of gun buybacks, and in his community, he just got a lot of money so that people can get gift cards when they turn their guns in. Next question, what are some of the examples of landmarks that will be lit up green tonight? Juanita?
I was going to say, I'll take that one if you like. We have got places across the country that are lit up green. We've got some of the ones that people will know, like the John Hancock Building and the Sears Tower. And we have the Como Bridge in New York, and we have also another building on Park Avenue in New York as well. But we're really excited about those, but we're also excited about places like Brooks Diner and the small places, because that is as important as the large places. We need people who are within their communities to be able to light up green. When people go into Brooks, they're going to say, why did you put all those green lights out there today? And that will give an opportunity for people within that community to start a conversation and to talk about the importance of injury prevention and to talk about some of the things that are going on. So while we have some wonderful big landmarks being lit up, we also have, is Tareen, well, they've got some places in DC that are being lit up. Some monuments and some bridges in DC that you will recognize. And but again, it's about all the small places as well, and letting everybody know as a whole the importance of what needs to be done.
Dr. Barlow's house.
Yes,
that's right. Dr. Barlow's house and her dentist's house. We have people that are lighting up neighborhoods, and because they're learning from us about the importance of injury prevention, and so they're lighting up green as well. And yes, that is one monumental place being lit, Dr. B's house. So.
Okay, from Sue Pollock, with a future incoming AAP president who is an injury prevention advocate and practitioner and a member of Injury Free Coalition, we have a unique opportunity. And I wonder how we might best support the AAP and Dr. Hoffman in bringing injury prevention to a more prominent position at a national level to help drive progress forward.
I guess I can take that question. My name is Tom McFerrin. I'm with the American Academy of Pediatrics. I run health campaigns for the Academy. And yeah, absolutely, Dr. Hoffman is president-elect. He was voted by members as an upcoming president, and we're very excited to have him on board to be one of our next presidents, because he is such a great advocate and spokesperson for the Academy. He's really outstanding, and really we've been working to raise this issue a lot of times, working with Dr. Hoffman, but also with other expert leader member pediatricians in our academy to talk about all kinds of different important injury issues that impact children and teenagers. Injuries, like everybody has been saying, are some of the leading causes of death in children. And so that's why it's such an important issue for the Academy and also for Dr. Hoffman. Just this past summer, I worked on a series of video shorts starring Dr. Hoffman, offering drowning prevention tips for families with household pools, and also advocating for swim lessons for kids, how important those are. That, you know, swimming is the only sport that can save a life, we like to say. So also gun safety. You know, a few years ago we held a symposium with a wide diverse group of representatives from parent organizations like Be Smart, and also gun owning organizations as well, and manufacturers, to talk about the importance of gun safety, and also how to message on the topic. And that's really informed some of our educational resources that we offer to our pediatricians on how they can counsel families on gun safety, whether they be families that don't own guns or families that do own guns, and other issues. So we're year-round, we're working on injury prevention issues, and absolutely, Dr. Hoffman is a fantastic spokesperson. So we're really hoping that he's going to elevate injury prevention when he becomes president. I think it'll be a year from January. I think it'll be January of 2024. He will become the AAP president. So it should be a good year for injury prevention.
Another question, what are some forms to reach out to more Hispanic people in the Hispanic community and make them more aware of the resources?
I can speak a little bit to that. Being in Albuquerque, New Mexico, more than half of the population of our state is Hispanic. And so we do a lot of work. There's the obvious parts about making sure things are translated and available in the language, but we do a lot of work of trying to reach out to community organizations that already work with the Hispanic community and work with them for developing messaging. And I think that makes people feel more comfortable, because they're going where they already go and they're learning from people that they already trust. And I think that can be a really helpful tool, is discovering the places where they already feel comfortable and the people they already trust, and work through them.
I also want to jump in. Our Be Smart materials are all available in Spanish, and we also run our Be Smart training, which we run in English. We also run it monthly in Spanish by our Be Smart volunteers that are Spanish language speakers. So I'm happy to drop that in the chat as well.
And then this is Jennifer with TCA. So the same thing. So we just did the tip cards, and those tip cards are both in English and in Spanish.
The American Academy of Pediatrics has a parent portal, which is a parent website called healthychildren.org. It's written by pediatricians, and we do offer a Spanish version of that website, and it's very popular, and it has a lot of articles on injury prevention, and we started to expand into other languages as well. So we do understand that it's important to make sure we reach out to every community, and so that's an ongoing effort.
Okay, there's going to be one more question, but I want to read just a few more comments that we had. Dana Ortega, I had gun locks donated from a gun shop. There was someone from IKEA. We at IKEA Kansas store are happy to work with Lanita in participating in the Shine a Green Light project. This year we were able to extend the opportunity. We have 27 IKEA locations around the US shining a green light, some of which will be hosting safety events. Excited to be a part from Kansas City. We're in Charlie's House, a nonprofit safety organization, the Safety Demonstration House. Someone said, please include open water in water safety. And then one final question. What have been the biggest successes in 2022 in terms of injury and violence prevention? And I'm going to kick that to Dr. Barlow, because there is a question that says, it's so great to see many groups coming together. Dr. Barlow, not to put you on the spot, but can you share a quick story or message that makes you optimistic about our shared mission?
Well, we've known all along that if you work with the community and you tabulate the injuries and follow them, that the community will rise up and work with you to make it safer. We showed that absolutely in Harlem, where we reduced major injuries by 60%. But it didn't take just us talking. It took us involving the churches, the elected officials, the parents, the community organizations, and we worked together as a network to make the community a much safer community for children. And we documented that by following it in our trauma registry. All across the country, our injury-free sites are doing data. They're looking at the injuries in their communities because they're different in some communities. Children don't drown in Harlem, but it's a real problem in much of the country. So you need to know what your problems are and address them directly using an involvement of your entire community in order to make a difference. And it works, and we've seen it work, and you saw it work too. Wendy, you evaluated it where you are too and showed absolutely that you had a similar reduction in injury. So it can be done, but it really takes a whole village to make a whole village safe. We have to involve everyone, and community businesses are also, they want safe communities. So in Harlem, as you have, and many of our, actually all our sites have, involved community businesses to help with funding educational programs, funding things to hand out to people who can't afford safety items. There is so much that can be done, and we can make a difference, but it's going to take everyone, because right now we have a very unsafe society, it seems. Okay, Wendy, take it away.
All right, I'm going to pass it back to Tom for some final words.
Like I said before, I'm Tom McFerrin. I manage public health campaigns for the American Academy of Pediatrics. The AAP and our 67,000 member pediatricians have supported this campaign since it started and signed on with our logo to the sign-on document because it's such an important message, such an important life-saving message. Injuries like firearm injuries, drowning, safe sleep related injuries are among the leading causes of death in children and teenagers. All year round, the AP is producing educational materials on injury prevention, posting them on our educational website for parents, healthychildren.org. Like I said, it's in Spanish as well, and also posting to social media. We're always developing new resources, new articles. We have a blog as well. And we also provide these resources on our website at aap.org and our campaign toolkits. There's drowning prevention campaign toolkit, there's safe sleep, a wide variety of topics with infographics, videos, articles. Today, the AAP headquarters is lit green. For all the groups working on this campaign, thank you very much for your support, for participating in this webinar, and for whatever you're doing today, whether it be lighting your building green, participating in the Twitter chat later today, or sending out educational resources on social media to participate in National Injury Prevention Day. Thanks so much for being here and for taking part. I'll pass this back to Dr. Barlow, who will offer some final remarks.
Okay. Listen, I am so impressed by everybody's contribution to this webinar. I think it's been very informative, and it's wonderful to hear all the voices speaking together, unified, in order to address the problem of injury in our cities, in our homes, in our communities. So let's just go forth from this webinar and from Injury Prevention Day to continue to work every day to make our community safer. And you mentioned that my house was lit up in green. Yes, I have a house here in New Jersey and one in Pennsylvania. They're both lit up in green, and so are my neighbors. And my neighbors have told me today that people are coming to their house and saying, why is it green? And it gives them the opportunity to say why it's green and to tell them to go look at the Twitter chat at 1 o'clock at #BeInjuryFree, to think about what they can do to make their children and their community safer. And we also tell them to look at the website, injuryfree.org, to see for every city what they're lighting up, what programs they're doing to address injury to children. So anyhow, I want to thank you all. It's been an absolutely marvelous webinar. And I want you to keep on board here, because Lenita is going to show us the video that we made from 2021 about shining up in green, and it makes me cry every time. So go out, save the world, and watch the video.
you.